The moment you begin to rise, the moment God decides to release what He has been storing for you, the entire atmosphere around your life begins to shift. And before that blessing arrives, before the doors open, before the resources flow, God will test the condition of your heart. Not to punish you. No, God examines you to protect what He is about to place in your hands. Because when this money comes, and it will come, you must understand something deep within your spirit. You cannot tell everyone. Not every ear deserves to hear what God is doing behind the scenes. Not every heart can handle the magnitude of the blessing that is being prepared for you. Some people cannot celebrate your rise because your victory reminds them of their own unwillingness to grow. Some people will smile in front of you but question God about you in silence. And God does not want their jealousy, their envy, their negativity, or their hidden resentment to contaminate what He is about to release in your life. You feel this message because your spirit already knows something is shifting. You feel the weight of transition, the pressure before elevation, the spiritual intensity that comes before a major breakthrough, and you are right to feel it. Because God has been preparing a financial blessing that will break generational patterns, lift you out of cycles you've been trapped in, and establish a new level of stability and authority in your life. But when it arrives, you must be wise, discerning, and spiritually grounded enough to walk in silence. God does not need you to broadcast what He's doing. God needs you to protect it. Because some blessings grow best in quiet places, some breakthroughs require secrecy, and some miracles are only preserved when the noise of the world has been shut out completely. Do you know why God emphasizes secrecy before multiplication? Because money reveals the true nature of people. The moment God raises you, the moment He blesses you, the moment you begin to elevate, you will see the intentions of hearts you once trusted. Money exposes motives. It unveils envy. It awakens those who suddenly remember your name after years of silence. It pulls out opportunists who were waiting in the shadows for the moment you rise so they can attach themselves to your increase. This is why God is warning you now. When this money comes, don't tell anyone. Let them see the results of your discipline, but never give them the blueprint of your blessing. Let them see the glow, but never reveal the oil behind it. Let them witness the fruit, but never expose the seed God planted in your spirit. You must understand that God elevates you in silence for a reason. God hides your growth while feeding you wisdom. God conceals your increase while strengthening your character. God protects your progress while shaping your discernment. When God blesses you quietly, He is shielding you from spiritual attacks that come through people who pretend to care. When God releases financial increase privately, He is giving you time to adjust to your new season without the burden of opinions, expectations, judgment, and manipulation. And when God allows your hands to touch the resources you've prayed for, He expects maturity from you, not noise, not boasting, not unnecessary exposure. What God is bringing is too sacred to be handled irresponsibly. You see, many people lose what God gives them not because they were unworthy, but because they were unwise. They talked too soon. They celebrated too loudly. They trusted too quickly, and they shared too much with people who secretly hope to see them fall. But that will not be your story. God is preparing you now so you will not sabotage your future with the wrong voices. You are being trained for stewardship, not showmanship. You are being conditioned for elevation, not validation. You are being shaped for abundance, not applause. God wants your hands open enough to receive, but your mouth disciplined enough to remain silent. And why silence? Because silence is spiritual protection. Silence blocks the envy that tries to attach itself to your blessing. Silence keeps your mind clear from the opinions of those who never wanted you to grow in the first place. Silence guards the doors of your destiny, so only God can enter. Silence allows you to elevate without attracting unnecessary warfare. The less people know, the less access the enemy has to what God is doing in your life. And hear this with clarity. Your blessing is not for display. Your money is not for public entertainment. Your elevation is not a community announcement. There are people who cannot digest the magnitude of what God is doing for you because their hearts are too small to understand it. There are people who will not celebrate your breakthrough because your breakthrough exposes their laziness, their jealousy, and their unwillingness to pursue God the way you did. This is why God is saying, when this money comes, keep quiet. When the door opens, keep quiet. When the opportunity appears, keep quiet. When the connection forms, keep quiet. Let them see the results in due time. But let God handle the revelation. You owe no one an explanation for the blessing God is about to pour into your life. Inside you right now is a calling toward financial elevation. You feel God shifting you into a season of provision. You feel the spiritual momentum. You feel the unseen hand positioning you for something larger than what you have ever held before. But God does not release abundance until He knows you can protect it. God does not deliver financial breakthrough until He sees you can guard it with maturity. The blessing you are about to receive requires a strong spirit, not a loud voice. It requires humility, not exposure. It requires wisdom, not excitement. It requires strategy, not impulsive sharing. There are people in your life who are only comfortable with you as long as you remain at the level they met you. The moment you grow, their comfort turns into fear. The moment you rise, their praise turns into distance. The moment you expand, their friendliness turns into suspicion. Not because you did something wrong, but because your elevation threatens the limits they placed on their own lives. God cannot allow their insecurity to sabotage your abundance. So God is teaching you to rise quietly. God is teaching you to elevate privately. God is teaching you to grow in silence, so the wrong hearts cannot interfere with what He is designing for your future. And hear me carefully. The first wave of money that God brings into your life is not for celebration, it is for construction. It is for building the foundation of the life God promised you. It is for establishing stability. It is for breaking generational cycles. It is for freeing you from financial bondage. It is for investing in your growth, not entertaining the crowd. Money is a tool from God, not a trophy for people. When this money comes, it is not meant for you to run around proving who you are. It is meant for you to become who God designed you to be. You must break the habit of explaining yourself to people who will never understand your vision. You must stop seeking validation from people who benefit from your stagnation. When God blesses you financially, He is not blessing you to gain approval. He is blessing you so you can operate from strength, so you can move with authority, so you can stand tall without begging, without borrowing, without shrinking yourself to fit into places God has already outgrown for you. You have gone through seasons where you lacked, seasons where you struggled, seasons where you worked silently while others underestimated you, seasons where you prayed while others ignored you. But God watched all of it. God saw your tears. God saw your faithfulness. God saw your resilience. God saw your quiet belief when circumstances tried to break you. And because you remained steadfast, because you did not give up, because you continued to walk, even when the path was dark, God is preparing a blessing that will silence every doubt, every negative word, every underestimation, and every lie spoken against your destiny. There will come a moment when the blessing God releases into your life will feel almost unreal. It will overwhelm you, not because you doubt God's power, but because for years you carried burdens heavier than what anyone ever knew. And when God lifts those burdens and replaces them with abundance, your spirit will tremble, not from fear, but from the realization that God never forgot you. But in that trembling moment, in that sacred shift, you must learn stillness, because the first reaction of many people is to celebrate loudly. They rush to announce, to share, to display, to tell the world that God has finally remembered them. But elevation requires more wisdom than excitement. God is calling you to a level of spiritual discipline where you learn to hold blessings quietly and walk in gratitude instead of noise. There is a spiritual principle many do not understand. The louder your breakthrough, the faster people aim to break it. The moment others hear you've been blessed, some will look for ways to drain what God poured into your life. Some will come with their hands open. Some will come with their hearts closed. Some will pretend to support you while secretly resenting you. Some will encourage you in public but question why you deserve it in private. This is why God whispers blessings instead of shouting them. This is why God strengthens you in the unseen before He prospers you in the seen. God knows what your environment cannot handle. God knows who your spirit must be separated from. God knows which voices will celebrate you and which voices will contaminate you. And remember this, when God releases financial increase, it is not just money, it is responsibility, authority, and spiritual weight. Money amplifies your character. If your heart is grounded in God, money becomes a tool of purpose. If your heart is tied to the approval of others, money becomes a weapon that destroys peace. This is why God is preparing your heart before He prepares your hands. Your heart must be clean enough to manage abundance without arrogance. Your spirit must be strong enough to carry wealth without allowing pride, competition, or comparison to poison your destiny. Your mind must be disciplined enough to grow in silence without craving applause. And do not misunderstand the silence God is asking of you. It is not the silence of fear, it is the silence of strategy. It is the silence of spiritual protection. It is the silence of maturity. It is the silence of someone who understands that timing is everything. God does not want you to hide your blessings. He wants you to guard them. He wants you to protect what He entrusted to you so it can grow, multiply, and strengthen your future. What God gives you is not fragile, but your environment might be. And until your environment stabilizes, until your discernment sharpens, until your spirit matures, God instructs you to walk with caution and wisdom. There will come a moment when you look at your life and recognize that God has taken you further than your background ever suggested you could go. He will lift you into opportunities you never expected to encounter. He will surround you with favor that cannot be explained. But the deeper the blessing, the deeper the isolation required to sustain it. God is not isolating you because you are unworthy of relationship. God is isolating you because where He is leading you, many cannot follow. Some people are not assigned to your elevation. Some hearts are not equipped to grow with you. Some relationships cannot handle the amount of spiritual weight you are about to carry. And God, in His mercy, removes those attachments before they sabotage your future. So when this money comes, you must not only remain silent, you must remain selective. You must discern who has a pure spirit. You must examine who stands with you without expecting a reward. You must pay attention to the ones who supported you in seasons of lack, because those are the ones who can be trusted in seasons of abundance. God does not measure loyalty by how people act when you rise. God measures loyalty by how they treated you when nothing was happening. The ones who stayed when you had little are the ones who can be trusted when you have much. The ones who prayed for you when you were struggling are the ones who can stand with you when God elevates you. But even with them, caution is wisdom. Because the weight of your blessing is between you and God alone. There is a sacredness to God's provision that requires reverence. When God places something extraordinary in your hands, you must treat it with spiritual respect. You cannot casually expose God's work to people who mock what they cannot understand. You cannot share God's strategy with people who have no desire to build anything for themselves. Protect what God gives you the same way God protected you when you were vulnerable. Guard your blessing the same way God guarded your spirit when the enemy tried to break you. Walk with the wisdom of someone who knows that God's gifts are holy, intentional, and designed to change the direction of your entire lineage. And hear this, financial blessing is not just elevation, it is separation. When God increases you, He separates you from old thinking, old patterns, old environments, and old limitations. Money does not simply improve your lifestyle, it demands that your mindset rise to a higher level of discipline. You cannot handle abundance with a scarcity mindset. You cannot build a future with the habits that kept you in survival. You cannot manage wealth with the emotional patterns that made you settle. God is not bringing money into your life to decorate your past. God is bringing money to build your future, and that future requires maturity, structure, and silence. There is also a spiritual test inside every increase. God watches how you respond to the blessing. Does your humility remain intact? Does your gratitude deepen? Does your discipline sharpen? Does your faith remain centered on God rather than the resources? Money is a tool, not a master. It must never take God's place in your heart. It must never become the source of your identity. Because if money becomes your identity, you will live in fear of losing it. But if God remains your identity, money becomes a resource you control instead of a force that controls you. When God blesses you financially, He expects you to walk with the dignity of someone who understands the purpose behind the blessing. Your wealth is not for showing off, it is for breaking cycles, it is for lifting burdens, it is for building stability, it is for creating opportunities that did not exist before, it is for stepping into the authority God always intended for you to carry. And if you expose this too early, if you shout it before building it, if you reveal it before establishing it, you risk sharing something sacred with people who are unprepared to see what God is doing. Remember this truth deeply. People do not need to know everything God is doing in your life to witness the greatness God brings through your life. They do not need the details to see the results. They do not need the explanations to see the transformation. They do not need the story to recognize the strength God placed in your spirit. What God is doing will speak for itself when the time is right. You are not responsible for keeping others updated on your spiritual journey. You are responsible for being faithful, focused, and obedient to God's guidance. There is a special kind of strength that comes from silence. The strength to resist proving yourself. The strength to resist bragging. The strength to resist oversharing with people who have no investment in your growth. That strength is spiritual discipline. And God is developing that discipline in you now. Because the blessing coming to you is too heavy to be carried by someone who treats it carelessly. You are being shaped for abundance that requires a new version of yourself. Stronger, wiser, quieter, and more spiritually anchored than ever before. And you must not fear the responsibility of elevation. God would not bring this blessing into your life if you were not prepared for it. God has been shaping you for years. Every struggle strengthened you. Every loss matured you. Every disappointment purified you. Every closed door redirected you. Every moment of loneliness pulled you closer to God. And now, as God prepares to elevate you, you are being instructed to walk differently, think differently, and protect what is sacred. The silence you maintain in this next season is not weakness, it is mastery. It is spiritual intelligence. It is alignment with the way God operates. God rarely announces what He is about to do, He simply does it. He transforms quietly, He strengthens quietly, He elevates quietly. And then one day, the results become so undeniable that everyone can see what God has done without you needing to explain a single thing. When this money comes, your life will change. But your character must remain anchored in God. Your heart must stay humble. Your spirit must stay discerning. Your mouth must stay disciplined. And your focus must remain on the path God is carving beneath your feet. When God brings you into a season of abundance, you must stand before that blessing with a spirit sharpened by truth, humility, and unshakable faith. This is the moment where you look at your life with complete honesty and ask yourself whether you are ready to carry what you have prayed for. Because God does not elevate you for you to remain the same. God lifts you so you can rise into a higher version of yourself, one that walks with clarity, discipline, and deep spiritual awareness. And now the challenge is before you. Will you allow this blessing to transform your purpose, refine your character, and strengthen your connection to God? Or will you allow the noise of the world to distract you from the sacred responsibility placed in your hands? This is the season where you must confront the parts of your life that have been neglected. Look at your habits, your environments, your relationships, and your thoughts. Ask yourself what must be released so that what God is bringing can thrive. Ask yourself what must be healed so that abundance does not sit on a wounded foundation. Ask yourself what must be rebuilt so that your future is not shaped by the limitations of your past. God is not simply giving you more. God is calling you to become more. And you cannot rise into the life God is preparing while holding onto the patterns that once kept you small. Your blessing will demand a stronger version of you. A version that is courageous enough to walk in silence. A version that is disciplined enough to guard what God places in your hands. A version that is wise enough to know when to speak and when to stay still. A version that chooses purpose over attention, growth over comfort, and God over everything else. This is the version of you that God has been shaping in the shadows, molding in the silence, and preparing through every season of struggle. And now, as abundance draws near, you must step boldly into that identity. Let this be the moment where you renew your commitment to God with a seriousness that goes beyond words. Let this be the moment where you release the need for validation, approval, and comparison. Let this be the moment where you embrace the stillness God has been calling you into. The stillness where wisdom is born and blessings are protected. Your life is shifting. And with that shift comes a sacred responsibility to walk with depth, integrity, and reverence. You must not treat this season casually. You must hold it with both hands and with a heart fully aligned with God. So examine your spirit. Evaluate your direction. Clean your inner world the way someone prepares their home for an honored guest. Because what God is bringing is too powerful to exist in a life cluttered with doubt, fear, or distraction. This is your call to rise. This is your call to strengthen your discipline. This is your call to walk in maturity. This is your call to anchor yourself so deeply in God that no blessing can pull you away and no storm can push you off course. Stand firm in this truth. God is preparing you for something greater than what you have imagined. And your responsibility is not to announce it, but to become worthy of it. To walk in alignment, to walk in gratitude, to walk in wisdom, to walk in reverence. And above all, to walk closely with God, allowing every step to be guided, every decision to be purified, and every blessing to be used with purpose. Now rise with a renewed spirit. Rise with a sharpened mind. Rise with a heart that knows its source. Walk forward with a quiet strength that the world cannot shake. Protect what is sacred, guard what is coming, and live with the unwavering truth that every blessing, every opportunity, and every form of abundance that enters your life is a reminder that God has never left you, never forgotten you, and never stopped preparing you for a future overflowing with purpose. When God is about to give you something big, the atmosphere around your life begins to shift in ways you cannot always explain, but you can certainly feel. There are moments when you sense a stirring within you, a quiet but undeniable pull that says, something is coming. something greater than what you've seen, something beyond what you've held, something that will redefine everything you thought was possible. And if you are feeling that stirring right now, understand this: it is not your imagination. It is not random emotion. It is not wishful thinking. It is the whisper of God preparing your spirit for a gift that only He can give. You may not see the evidence yet. You may not have the confirmation yet. You may not have the resources, the connections, or the clarity. But when God is preparing you for something big, He speaks to you long before He reveals it to you. God plants the awareness before He plants the manifestation. God stirs your hope before He opens the door. God strengthens your faith before He hands you the blessing. What you feel inside you right now is the echo of something that has already been spoken in the unseen realm. God releases the promise long before you ever see the proof. When God is about to do something big in your life, the first thing He does is awaken your inner vision. That vision does not come from your environment, your past, or your limitations. It comes from the quiet place where God speaks to your spirit. And when God speaks, even if you try to ignore it, you cannot silence it. The voice of God stays with you. It follows you. It nudges you. It refuses to let you stay where you've been. It pushes you towards something greater. Even when you don't feel ready, even when you don't feel qualified, even when the people around you cannot understand what is happening inside you, you begin to walk differently. You begin to think differently. You begin to feel that life is shifting, that your old patterns are breaking, that your old fears are losing power. You may not tell anyone, but deep inside you sense that God is placing you on the edge of a new season. You sense a divine pressure, not the pressure of stress, but the pressure of purpose. God is getting ready to enlarge your territory, but before He expands the outer world around you, He expands the inner world within you. He builds capacity inside you so you can carry what He is about to place on your life. When God is about to give you something big, He allows you to feel uncomfortable in places that once felt safe. You begin to outgrow rooms you once wanted to belong to. You begin to outgrow relationships you once thought you needed. You begin to outgrow conversations that no longer feed your spirit. This discomfort is not rejection, it is redirection. It is God pulling you out of what is small so He can place you in what is destined. The uncomfortable season is the hallway between where you were and where God is taking you. There are moments when God closes doors you tried desperately to keep open. And you may wonder, why would God take something away when I needed it the most? But hear this clearly, God never removes anything from your life unless He intends to replace it with something bigger, something better, something that aligns with His plan for you. If God allowed it to close, it was not meant to carry you into your future. When God is preparing a big blessing, He begins by removing what cannot survive in your next season. Sometimes the removal comes through disappointments that break your heart. Sometimes it comes through delays that test your patience. Sometimes it comes through people who walk away without explanation. But every removal is a divine setup. Every delay is a divine shield. Every disappointment is a divine redirection. God is not punishing you. He is protecting what He is preparing to place into your hands. You may feel as though the ground is shifting beneath your feet, but do not be afraid of the shaking. God does not shake your life to destroy you. God shakes your life to stabilize you. He shakes away everything that was built on fear, everything that was built on insecurity, everything that was built on dependence on people. The shaking is the sign that the foundation is being rebuilt. God is preparing a structure that can carry the weight of the blessing He is about to release. When God is about to give you something big, your battles increase. Your challenges intensify. The resistance becomes stronger, not because you are weak, but because what is coming is strong. Every time God prepares to elevate you, the opposition rises in an attempt to distract you. But understand this, your battles are not a sign that God has abandoned you. They are confirmation that you are getting close. The closer you get to the breakthrough, the more the pressure increases. But the pressure is not meant to break you, it is meant to build you. Pressure produces strength. Pressure produces clarity. Pressure produces spiritual authority. Pressure turns ordinary lives into extraordinary testimonies. God uses pressure to shape you so that when the blessing arrives, you will not crumble under the weight of it. The blessing you are praying for carries responsibility, and God will not place something big on a foundation that has not been strengthened. The process is not punishment, it is preparation. When God is about to give you something big, He begins to separate you from the noise of the world. You may find yourself spending more time alone, not because God wants you isolated, but because God needs you focused. There are blessings that cannot be received in crowded places. There are instructions God will only release in stillness. There are revelations that require silence. When God is preparing a big move in your life, He pulls you into a sacred quietness where your spirit becomes sensitive to His direction. In these moments, you may feel misunderstood. People around you may not grasp the changes happening inside you. They may misread your silence. They may question your choices. They may say you've changed. And they are right. You have changed. Because when God prepares something big for you, He also prepares you for that something big, and spiritual preparation often makes you look different from who you used to be. You cannot carry divine elevation with old patterns. You cannot walk into a new season with an old mindset. God renews your thoughts before He opens your path. When God is about to bless you on a large scale, He will often slow everything down. Not to frustrate you, but to align everything perfectly. Divine timing is not human timing. God does not rush greatness. God does not hurry something that He intends to last. What He builds in you during the waiting season will sustain you during the winning season. If God allowed you to receive the blessing too early, you would not have the strength to maintain it. The waiting is not a setback, it is a safeguard. And in the waiting, God works on your spirit. He strengthens your discipline, refines your faith, sharpens your discernment, and expands your resilience. You may think nothing is happening, but everything is happening. God works the most in the unseen. While you are waiting, God is arranging. While you are praying, God is preparing. While you are trusting, God is orchestrating. Nothing is delayed. Nothing is denied. Everything is aligned. When God is about to give you something big, He requires you to release something. It may be an old fear. It may be a limiting belief. It may be a relationship that drains you. It may be a habit that weakens you. It may be a comfort zone that holds you. But God will always ask you to release something before He places something greater in your hands. You cannot receive with closed fists. You cannot step into new territory while holding on to old chains. This is the tension of transformation, letting go of what you know to step into what you are destined for. And even though letting go may feel painful, it is the pain that precedes the promise. God does not take anything without purpose. If He is asking you to release something, it is because He is getting ready to replace it with something that will bless you more than you can imagine. When God is preparing a big blessing, He begins to enlarge your faith. He challenges you to believe beyond your current circumstances. He pushes you to trust even when the path is unclear. He leads you to step out even when you cannot see the ground beneath your feet. God stretches your faith because what He is preparing requires more belief than anything you have ever asked for. If your faith stays small, the blessing cannot stay large. God grows your belief before He grows your territory. You begin to realize that the battle was never about the people around you, the opportunities you lost, or the situations that overwhelmed you. The battle was for your faith, because faith is the doorway through which every big blessing enters your life. The enemy does not attack your finances, your relationships, or your dreams. He attacks your faith because he knows that once your faith is strong, nothing can stop what God has destined for you. When God is about to give you something big, your prayers begin to change. You stop praying small prayers. You stop asking for temporary relief. You stop hoping for minor improvements. Something inside you rises and says, God, I know you are preparing something greater. I know you are leading me to something higher. I know you are setting the stage for something powerful. Your prayers shift from survival to expectation, from fear to confidence, from doubt to divine anticipation. When God is about to give you something big, He begins to reshape the way you see your own life. You start to look at your past differently. What once seemed like random pain becomes purposeful preparation. What once felt like abandonment begins to look like divine protection. What once felt like loss begins to reveal itself as the clearing God needed to do before planting something greater. You begin to understand that nothing in your life has been wasted. Every hardship that tried to break you actually built you. Every tear that once weakened you now strengthens you. Every closed door that frustrated you was saving you from something that would have derailed your destiny. And this realization awakens a new strength inside you, one that cannot be shaken by circumstances or silenced by fear. Because once you recognize the pattern of God in your past, you no longer doubt the power of God in your future. You begin to walk with the confidence that comes from knowing not what will happen next, but knowing who is guiding your next steps. You understand that the journey is not in your hands, it is in God's hands. And anything that rests in God's hands is safe, protected, and destined to flourish. When God prepares you for something big, He increases your sensitivity to spiritual truth. Suddenly you begin to discern the difference between opportunities that look good and opportunities that are good. You begin to sense the situations that feed your spirit and the ones that drain it. You begin to recognize when God is saying yes, when God is saying no, and when God is saying wait. Discernment becomes your compass and patience becomes your strength. You understand that you no longer need to force anything, because what is meant for you will not require manipulation, exhaustion, or compromise. This is the season where God trains your spirit to trust Him more than your emotions, more than your environment, more than your fears, and even more than your own logic. Because what God is bringing into your life goes beyond human calculation. It will not make sense on paper. It will not align with the expectations of others. It will exceed the limitations of your previous seasons. When God gives something big, it is bigger than your training, bigger than your understanding, bigger than your past, and bigger than your plans. You cannot analyze what God is about to do. You can only align with it, and alignment begins in the heart. When God is preparing a major blessing, He begins by cleaning the inner space where doubt, fear, insecurity, and trauma once lived. You may find yourself suddenly confronting emotional patterns you ignored for years. Old wounds may resurface, not to hurt you, but to heal you. God will never place a great blessing on top of unresolved pain. The blessing is too valuable to be buried under emotional debris, so God brings the hidden things to the surface. Not to shame you, but to free you. Not to weaken you, but to strengthen you. Not to expose you, but to elevate you. There are moments when God holds you still, not because you are stuck, but because He is performing inner surgery, removing bitterness, healing old disappointments, uprooting deep fears, rebuilding your sense of worth. The inner renewal is essential, because God never gives a big blessing to a wounded spirit. He restores you so the blessing will not destroy you. He strengthens you so success will not break you. He stabilizes you so elevation will not overwhelm you. God knows what your future requires, and He ensures you are emotionally equipped to carry it. When God is about to give you something big, He expands your courage. You find yourself thinking bolder thoughts, dreaming bigger dreams, and expecting more from life, not because you suddenly became ambitious, but because God began whispering possibility into your soul. You start to feel drawn toward things that once intimidated you. You find yourself stepping into rooms that once frightened you. You begin to speak with clarity that surprises even you. Courage rises not from your own strength, but from the realization that God is walking with you. You begin to understand that if God is for you, no force can stand against what He has declared over your life. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into places that were never meant to contain you. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop doubting the greatness that God is birthing in you. You stop questioning whether you deserve the blessing. Because when God decides to elevate someone, it has nothing to do with human approval. It has everything to do with divine purpose. And purpose does not ask for permission. Purpose does not wait for validation. Purpose does not negotiate with fear. When God calls you higher, you rise. Even if your knees tremble, even if your voice shakes, even if your heart doubts. Because deep inside you, a new truth takes root. Hesitation cannot stop what God has decided. Your future is already written. Your blessing is already assigned. Your breakthrough is already scheduled. God simply needs your willingness to step into what He has prepared. When God is preparing something big, He intensifies your discipline. You begin to feel a strong pull towards structure, consistency, and focus. You find yourself waking up earlier, thinking more clearly, making choices that align with your future rather than your impulses. You begin to say no to distractions that once controlled you. You begin to protect your energy like it is sacred. Because it is. When God prepares to elevate you, He sharpens your mind and strengthens your habits. God will never place a powerful blessing in hands that are careless. He trains you to handle greatness with responsibility. In this season, your priorities begin to shift. You no longer chase what looks impressive, you chase what is aligned. You no longer invest in what is temporary, you invest in what is eternal. You no longer measure success by external applause, you measure it by internal peace. God refines your definition of success so that when the big blessing arrives, you recognize it not as an achievement, but as a sacred trust. Something God is placing on your life for a purpose bigger than your comfort, bigger than your ego, bigger than your desires. When God is about to give you something big, He will often reduce your circle. Not because you are superior to anyone, but because not everyone can carry the weight of your calling. Some people around you may not understand your new mindset. Some may not support your growth. Some may even feel threatened by your transformation. But hear this clearly. God does not reduce your circle to limit you. He reduces your circle to protect you. Elevation requires insulation. Whenever God is preparing to increase you, He shields you from people who would drain, distract, or derail your destiny. It may hurt when people leave. It may sting when relationships fade. It may confuse you when certain connections suddenly lose meaning. Yet none of this is accidental. When God removes, He is making space. When God separates, He is protecting. When God shifts people out of your life, He is shifting you into alignment with your purpose. Not everyone is assigned to your next season. Not everyone can understand the magnitude of what God is preparing to release. And then comes the clarity. Those who walked away had to leave so the blessing could arrive. Those who doubted you had to distance themselves so your faith could grow stronger. Those who misunderstood you had to step aside so your identity could be rooted not in human approval, but in God alone. When God prepares a big blessing, He often places you in situations that force you to rely entirely on Him. He removes your safety nets not to make you fall, but to teach you that He is the one who carries you. He removes certain options so you recognize that He is the source of your provision. He closes paths so you can learn that the path you truly need is the one He opens. When everything else feels uncertain, that is when you discover the unshakable certainty of God. You begin to realize that trust is not a feeling, it is a decision, a firm, unwavering decision to believe that God is guiding you, even when the road ahead is unclear. Trust is the doorway through which every big blessing enters. And God will lead you through seasons that stretch your trust until it becomes unbreakable. When God is about to give you something big, He sends small signs, subtle confirmations that strengthen your spirit, a sudden peace you cannot explain, a message you needed at the exact moment you were losing hope, a change in your energy, a restoration of your confidence, a renewed fire inside you. These signs are not coincidences, they are divine signals. God is letting you know that the blessing is closer than you think. When God is about to give you something big, He heightens your awareness of the power of patience. You begin to recognize that patience is not passivity, it is spiritual strength. It is the quiet, steady conviction that what God promised is already on its way. Patience becomes the shield that protects your heart from discouragement. It becomes the anchor that keeps you stable when circumstances try to push you toward despair. And as your patience strengthens, something remarkable happens. Your spirit becomes unshakable. You no longer chase after signs, you carry certainty within you. You no longer beg for proof, you walk with inner assurance. You no longer panic when things take longer than expected. You trust the timing of the one who sees the entire picture. This transformation is essential because when God prepares to deliver something big, the weight of that blessing demands a spirit that is steady, grounded, and unwavering. God does not pour abundance into a heart that wavers at every challenge. God does not place greatness into hands that tremble with fear. God ensures that your inner world is aligned with the magnitude of His plan. And you begin to see something powerful. Patience is not waiting for the blessing, it is becoming the person who can carry it. When God is preparing a major breakthrough in your life, He will often lead you through a season of pruning, not to punish you, but to perfect you. Pruning is the cutting away of what no longer serves your purpose. It may be a habit that keeps you small. It may be a mindset that keeps you fearful. It may be a relationship that pulls you backward. It may be an emotional pattern that weakens your spirit. God removes these things because they cannot survive at the altitude of your destiny. You cannot rise while holding on to what weighs you down. And even though pruning feels painful, it is one of the most powerful signs that God is preparing you for something big. Pruning is not the ending, it is the shaping. It is the divine sculpting of your spirit. It is the clearing of old branches so new fruit can grow. And once God finishes pruning, you discover a strength within you that you did not know you had. You discover clarity you never experienced before. You discover resilience that surprises even you. God does not prune to diminish, you are pruned to flourish. When God is about to give you something big, He awakens a deeper level of humility within you. Not humility that weakens you, but humility that strengthens you. True humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is recognizing that everything you are becoming is through the guidance, wisdom, and mercy of God. Humility keeps your heart pure. It keeps your spirit grounded. It keeps your intentions aligned with the purpose God has placed over your life, because pride cannot carry blessings that come from God. Pride blocks, but humility builds. Pride limits, but humility expands. And when humility fills your heart, God trusts you with greater responsibilities, greater opportunities, greater influence. Humility opens the door to wisdom. It allows you to hear God clearly. It clears the noise of ego and makes room for divine instruction. And in this state of humility, you begin to recognize that the greatness God is preparing for you is not for personal gain. It is for divine purpose. Your blessing is meant to impact others. Your elevation is meant to lift someone else. Your abundance is meant to help, to heal, and to inspire. When God gives something big, it is never just about you. It is about the lives that will be touched through you. When God prepares to elevate you, He tests your consistency. He watches how you handle the small things before He trusts you with greater things. God observes the habits you repeat daily, not the promises you make occasionally. Consistency shapes character. Consistency reveals discipline. Consistency proves readiness. And as you grow consistent, your spirit stabilizes. You stop acting based on emotions and begin acting based on purpose. You stop responding from impulse and begin responding from wisdom. You stop living by circumstances and begin living by conviction. This consistency signals to God that you are ready to carry what He is preparing. When God is about to give you something big, you begin to see your failures differently. What once appeared as defeat now looks like training. What once felt like humiliation now becomes revelation. What once pushed you down now pushes you forward. God never wastes a failure. Every mistake you made is woven into the foundation of your purpose. Every setback became a stepping stone. Every wrong turn redirected you toward the right path. You begin to see that failure did not break you, it built you, it taught you endurance, it sharpened your discernment, it deepened your compassion, it strengthened your resolve. And the blessing God is preparing is designed to match the strength you gain through every challenge. When God is preparing something big, He increases the spiritual hunger inside you. You begin to crave His presence more. You begin to crave clarity more than comfort. You begin to crave wisdom more than validation. This hunger is not accidental. It is divine. It is the signal that God is drawing you closer, because what He is about to release requires a deeper relationship with Him. The closer you move to God, the more aligned your spirit becomes. You start to recognize that the blessing is not the ultimate reward. The connection with God is the true treasure. Everything else flows from that connection. When God is about to uplift you, He strengthens your integrity. He places you in situations where you must choose what is right even when it costs you. He refines your character through moments where the easy choice is not the righteous choice. Because the blessing He is preparing requires a foundation of truth, honesty, and moral strength. Integrity is the fortress around your destiny. Without it, elevation becomes dangerous. With it, elevation becomes divine. God strengthens your integrity so that when the blessing arrives, you can carry it with honor, wisdom, and stability. When God is preparing something big, He brings new desires into your heart. Desires that align with your calling. Desires that push you toward your purpose. Desires that challenge your comfort. These desires come from God, not from ego. You begin to want things that elevate you, not things that drain you. You begin to desire growth, progress, and transformation. You begin to feel drawn toward a life that requires courage, focus, and determination. This is God reshaping your heart to match the next season of your life. When God is about to release a big blessing, He often changes the voices you listen to. You begin to disconnect from negativity. You step away from conversations that weaken your faith. You lose interest in noise that distracts you. God replaces draining voices with voices that strengthen you. Voices of encouragement, voices of wisdom, voices of truth. Because what you hear shapes what you believe, and what you believe shapes what you receive. God clears the noise so your spirit can hear Him clearly. When God is preparing to bless you in a big way, He increases your gratitude. You begin to appreciate the small things with a deeper sense of awareness. You start to see blessings in moments you once overlooked. Gratitude expands your heart, making it capable of holding bigger gifts. Gratitude opens the door to abundance. Gratitude aligns your spirit with divine favor. The more grateful you become, the more God trusts you with greater blessings. When God is about to give you something big, He renews your strength. You may have days when exhaustion tries to overwhelm you, but then something inside you rises. A strength you cannot explain, a resilience that surprises you, a fire that refuses to burn out. That strength is not your own, it is God equipping you for what is coming. You are being fortified for elevation. You are being strengthened for abundance. You are being prepared for responsibility. God is pouring into your spirit so you will not collapse under the weight of the blessing. And now, as your heart absorbs every truth spoken into your spirit, I urge you to pause and look at your own life with a new level of honesty. Look at the roads you have walked, the burdens you have carried, the battles you have endured, and recognize that none of it was meaningless. Every storm shaped you, every setback refined you, every disappointment redirected you, and every moment brought you to this very point, where God is inviting you to rise with a renewed purpose, a strengthened spirit, and a deeper commitment to trust Him with every part of your life. This is your moment to awaken. This is your moment to shift from fear to faith, from hesitation to boldness, from uncertainty to divine confidence. Because something in you already knows that you were not created to remain where you are. You were created for transformation, for impact, for elevation, crafted by God with intention and placed on this earth with purpose. So examine your heart. Look at the habits that drain you. Look at the thoughts that limit you. Look at the fears that silence you, and refuse to carry them into another season of your life. If there is anything within you that keeps you small, release it. If there is anything within you that blocks your faith, remove it. If there is anything within you that disconnects you from the presence of God, surrender it. God is calling you higher, but you must be willing to release what holds you lower. This is your crossroads, the place where you choose alignment over comfort, faith over fear, growth over stagnation. And the moment you make that decision, heaven responds. The moment you choose God with your whole being, the path ahead becomes clearer, stronger, and filled with meaning. Let your spirit rise with courage. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Do not wait for external approval. Do not wait for a sign that matches your expectations. You already have the greatest sign, your breath. As long as God has given you life, God has given you purpose. And purpose demands action. Purpose demands awakening. Purpose demands a spirit fully surrendered to the will of God. So step forward with a heart ready to embrace what God has prepared for you. Do not shrink yourself to fit into places you have outgrown. Do not silence your calling to make others comfortable. Do not apologize for the fire burning inside you. That fire is not accidental. It is divine. God placed it within you to guide you, strengthen you, and propel you toward the fullness of who you are meant to become. Let today be the day you lift your head and declare that you are ready. Ready to trust God more deeply, ready to rise above the weight of your past, ready to walk away from anything that weakens your spirit, ready to embrace the discipline that shapes greatness, ready to carry the blessing with honor and integrity, ready to live with a heart fully committed to God, because life changes the moment you choose to align your soul with divine purpose. Life transforms when you stop living by fear and begin living by the truth that God is always with you, guiding you, strengthening you, and preparing you for more than you can see. And as you breathe in this truth, let your soul stand tall. Let your faith ignite with power. Let your heart echo with conviction. You are being called to rise, not tomorrow, not eventually, but now. God is inviting you to walk with a courage that refuses to be shaken, a faith that refuses to break, a spirit that refuses to retreat. Lift your life to God with full surrender. Let your intentions be purified. Let your commitment be renewed. Let your vision be expanded. And walk forward with the unshakable, unwavering certainty that when God prepares something big, He prepares the person first. And that person is you. Carry this truth with strength. Carry it with reverence. Carry it with dignity. Let it shape your actions, your thoughts, your choices, and your destiny. Let this be the moment your heart anchors itself in purpose, in clarity, and in the presence of God. Let this be the moment you choose to rise fully, boldly, and without hesitation into the life God has been preparing for you all along.